Hello, good evening, everyone. My name is David Chinechirem Innocent, and in today's session, I'm going to be housing some kind of questions and answers on systematic reviews for beginners. Now, I'm sure you might be seeing my slide here, uh, but of course, this is not what I'm really going to be talking about. I'm not really going to spend so much time in explanation. Uh, I would just want to take your questions. I am David Innocent. I am a PhD student at University of Port Harcourt, where currently my PhD, I am working on machine learning and deep learning for skin manifesting neglected tropical diseases. I currently have over 70 research publications in top tier journals. I am also a machine learning engineer, and I've currently mentored a lot of students, undergraduates, master students and all of that. Through my career, I have over 6 years experience in research, and I am currently the founder of Scientificity Team, which is a research-based organization that is targeted at addressing gaps in research and also assisting organizations and professionals in doing quality research and also bringing their research career to life. So I have very strong passion for researchers, and I really am strongly open to collaboration, and that is why I have the very much passion of doing research that combines artificial intelligence and machine learning with public health research. So I also have experience, doing research in areas outside of public health. Okay, and yeah, so that is just who I am. Yes, I know here I have a lot of bosses, people who I look really much up to here, I might have a lot of things to learn. So if, or because of this session, you have any question you want to ask, or there is something that you find very kind of challenging with respect to systematic reviews, I think I find a way to give my own contribution on that, and then we all learn together. So, uh, one of the things that makes this session different from the previous sessions that we've been having is that this is a question and answer session. So, I'm not really just here to teach and explain a lot of things. Although within the next 10 minutes or 15 minutes, I might just kind of go through these, some of the information that are contained in these slides, not really to be so detailed, but just to have you, maybe have you aroused at asking questions around maybe domains of a systematic review. So I look forward to connecting with bright minds here, and also, yeah, you essentially telling me some of the areas you might want us to kind of get, data on, and yeah, that's it. So that is that. I'm going to start by talking about what a systematic review is. Just briefly, I might not really go through all this domain here. And the idea is for us to have kind of I already expect that if you're in this session, probably you might have done a literature review before, maybe probably your traditional dissertation, or your probably you have maybe kind of engaged in a class exercise of any kind. Maybe probably you guys try to review some literature or propose some findings, or whichever one you've done. I believe the explanation of a systematic review is something that's definitely going to make sense. I think there is this perception that some people have, they feel if you're a systematic reviewer, that is just where you're locked in. But the good news is that one of the things that makes you outstanding as a systematic reviewer is that you get exposed to other designs, because every day as systematic reviewers, we review designs from other frameworks. We try to kind of amalgamate these designs. In machine learning, we call it concat. Okay, we try to kind of assemble these designs from several primary evidence so that we can form a robust evidence. So this is going to be a very free class. I don't want to bore you with lectures. I'm not that person. I love, practical insights. But what is a systematic review? A systematic review is just like my name. To think about a systematic review like this, I am currently, okay, I'm not just going to say, but maybe 20, if I'm 26 years old and then I want to get married, okay, let me just use that as an example now. Now, what do I do? Now, what I'm going to do right now is a man called Bola is 26 years old and he wants to get married. Now, let's understand what a systematic review is now. Now, what do you do? Let's say you're in a university called University X. Now you go to University X, which is in a certain country, right? And then you go to University X. That country has University X, it has University Y, it has University Z, it has University J, and all of that. And now you raise a research question. Now that's the marital question. You say, I'm looking for a fair girl. I'm looking for a woman with so and so attributes. Now, this is going to be the very simplest explanation about what a systematic review is. Now, what do? You're looking for a girl, a woman that has so and so attributes. She's loyal, blah, 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 and all of that, etc., etc. Now, you're not just going to get a woman that is loyal by just stumbling into any person, right? That is what happens in a systematic review. You might have a question, maybe you're looking for studies on anti-malaria, maybe for pregnant women, or maybe you're looking for highly active and retroviral people who are taking it, some of the complications you're trying to review evidence around that, or maybe anything. It could be about AI in policy making and all of that. You're trying to kind of pull evidence. Now, what do? Mr. Bola now walks into the university. He meets this girl in class A. He selects 10 girls in class A. He selects 10 girls in class B. He goes to University Z. He selects 10 girls. He selects 10 girls. Now, what happens? He now begins to do what? Screen them. So now what we call that selection now is we go into several databases. So unit class A is PubMed. So it's possible that the same girl that she found in class A, he can see that same girl in class B. I just want us to pay attention now. Now, when he goes to class B, he finds the same girl. Now, it's possible that the paper that you see in PubMed, you might see it in what? You might see it in Medline via Ovid, or you can see it in Embase via Ovid, Embase. You can see it in Scopus, you can see it in Agile, or depending on the repository where you're searching. So at the end of the day, he gets all these papers, right? So he removes duplicates, meaning if there's two girls, a girl that found her name in this class and also in that class, he removes them. So those are what we call duplicates. And when he takes out those duplicates, he does what we call title and abstract screening. Now, basically, what that means is you look at the females. Okay, you want somebody dark. So more like once you see somebody that is fair, there is no need of going further to know if the person has the characters that you want. So that is what we call what? Title and abstract screening. So when you look at a topic, you're looking for topics on neonatal mortality in Zambia. You want to do a systematic review on neonatal mortality in Zambia. And you see something on diabetes complication in Sierra Leone. Automatically, you don't even need to go further. So that's what we call title and abstract screening. So that is what Mr. Bola does. He does what we call title and abstract screening, excludes the ladies that are fair, and immediately reduces his number. That's the number now reduces to maybe let's say 9 girls or thereabout. Okay. Now, is he going to now choose all of them? No. Now he needs to start asking them their question. Okay, where are you from? That's what we now call full text screening. Where are you from? I'm from so and so. I'm from Ishekiri. I'm from this place. And now it means that there are some other what we call inclusion and exclusion criteria that Mr. Bola has now set up for the basis of his marriage. So Mr. Bola is saying that for me to get married, I don't need to marry somebody that is Caucasian, no, not maybe not Caucasian, because that's based on color. Maybe probably someone that is from so and so part of the country, or someone that is from another part, or there and that, right? Because those attributes are not something he can spot by looking at the what and how the girl looks like. Now, essentially, what this turns out to be now is that when you now get to ask those questions, which is what we call title and abstract screening, it now results to maybe it could result to now maybe 4 studies, right? And that is where if his religion permits him to marry first four women, he cannot include all of them into what? Into his marriage list. But if is that what he's targeting is one study, then that means he needs to do further screening. You check the outcomes. You now start asking questions on her past history. What did you do? What did you do? I caught this. Let me check your chart and all of that. Now, these are what we do in the systematic review. It's not different. Now, I'm going to tell you something that my first publication in research, my first systematic review publication, and whether my 20th, nothing changed. The only thing that changed is maybe difference in research questions. So essentially, the only thing you need to understand is just think about a systematic review as you want to get married. That is just the best way you can understand this, right? So you raise out those attributes that you need in the lady, and then the same thing also applies for the lady to the man also. I don't know if I'm maybe using the other side. So let me turn it the other side. The same thing also applies for the lady to the man. So think about those characters that you need in him that you want to, pick out. So that is how we pick studies. That is the psychology we use in picking out. Now, there are now several domains of a systematic review process where you might have to do what we call, even after you've not included the studies, you now start doing what we call quality check. What do you mean by quality check? Quality assessment. To start checking the paper to be sure that even if the paper meets the criteria, this paper has the capacity to still give us a summary that is essential for what we want to do. Because we're looking for a summary on, what do you mean by a summary? Let's say we raise a research question. What is the number of fair women in Ghana, right? That's a question. So it means that all the primary studies that we're going to put, one might say prevalence of fair women in Kumasi. Another one is say prevalence of fair women in Gambia. Another one is saying psychosocial determinants of fair women in maybe one other place in Ghana or whatever, maybe Ashanti or whatever. And then at the end of the day, we now pick all the statistical estimates from each of these studies and now run a summary to ascertain an evidence. All right. So now, but even if the study is saying prevalence of whatever, we still need to use an appropriate checklist to be sure that this study has what it takes to be included. And that's why you now say, okay, you now involve a pastor, or you involve an imam, or you involve a counselor to help you as analyze this situation. Okay, oh, this person has the genotype and all of that. The genotype is also part of your using eligibility and inclusion criteria and all of that. Okay. So you now ask the person to check it out. Then when they now check it out, they'll now say, okay, oh, he met it, but he doesn't look like his future is bright or something like that. And at the end of the day, we now remove it. That is what we call critical appraisal in what? In research. So I want you to understand that there is always a way for you to understand concepts in research. And just beyond here, even if you're doing any other thing in your career and all of that, you need to look for a way to spill in a very, very, very simple example and understand the flow. You don't really need to kind of look at it as something complex. The same thing applies in machine learning. I also teach people how to do machine learning, from scratch, how to train neural networks and all of that. And I believe it's something that is quite very simple once you try to relate it in a social manner. All right. So I don't know if I've kind of made it very simple. I'm sure from some of the few things I've just said here, basically this is already given to some people. And I also like to get your questions. Like I said, I'm not really going to be spending so much time uh, talking about a lot of things about systematic reviews. That's not the aim of it. We would always have a workshop, where we can address that if we have our course, that explains that. But essentially, the idea for this session now is to unravel insights on the domains of a systematic review, how you can publish a systematic review at zero cost. I want you to ask me any question that you have in mind. That is why we're having this session. And of course, I'm going to answer. And yeah. So before I do that, in the next 10 minutes, I'm going to just run through these slides, 10, 15 minutes, to explain one or two things, even if you're just joining for the first time, you're hearing systematic review for the first time, you can just kind of get some idea of what we want to do. So just currently sipping a very cold Zobo. So, okay, let's be serious now. Enough of that talk. What is systematic review? It's just kind of a transparent process of synthesizing all the available evidence of a specific research question. That's just it. Okay. So it's about if I finish my systematic review, like maybe a paper I published. Currently, I have a paper accepted on clinical utility models for you know AI. That's AI models that are used for predicting skin manifesting conditions. Now that paper now is definitely going to be published, right? And now let me say somebody else now decides to take the copy my inclusion criteria, some of the strategies I used in finding the wife for that paper. So what is the wife? The wife is the included studies, all the steps I took, and the person follows the same step. It means that the person is going to get the same result. That is what we mean by what? Reproducible method. So it has to be transparent. Okay, we have frameworks that we use in conducting systematic reviews. And of course, I'm just going to kind of shine it to us. Now, the other things, other type of reviews, some of us here have written narrative reviews. I already have one as well, balancing rigor, that was accepted. Many of us here have written literature reviews. We've written systematic reviews, meta-analysis. So these are also other type of reviews. Now, a question that I might get asked in this session might be, what is the difference between uh, systematic review and meta-analysis? Yeah, of course, I might want to answer that question along the line if definitely I'm asked that. But essentially, for you to do a meta-analysis, you must have a systematic review knowledge because a meta-analysis is born out of a systematic review. Okay, I want to talk about something. I want to kind of use a social example to make an inference here. And I'm asking a question if social media use increases depression among adolescents. So you can actually think about anything. Even if you're in agriculture, you're in maybe wildlife or forestry, you're in government policy, regardless of your background, it's the same intuition that I'm using to make this video apply. So you can raise any question, provided that you have primary studies that are definitely going to be addressing that. That is definitely going to work. But essentially, if you feel like uh, if you feel like you want to build on what is already existing in literature, of course, that's fine. That's fine. But the point that we're trying to buttress here is that anybody can make any question, right? I recently raised a question about social media mental masturbation among youths in this particular era because a lot of people are really scrolling on their phones, and social media mental masturbation is when there is now a kind of uh I would say a recessive, I think that's a better word, a recessive use of, social media technologies, and, it's controlling us. The focus is really, really distracted. Personally, I really find it very, very kind of interesting to keep my phone away from me for some time because to do some deep work because a lot of times now people expect everybody to be online, and that is something that is challenging to productivity. So you must know how to control your use of social media. But now the question now that's not an advice now, but we're looking at it as a question. Does it really increase depression among adolescents? I can't just say that it does without having a substantial proof based on depth of literature. So that means we need to use a kind of rigorous process to address that question, so that we can say, okay, yes, social media does, or maybe it doesn't, or whatever, whatever. But essentially, the point is that this is a question that is being raised, and it has to be addressed, and it has to be answered using a strategy. So that is just that. I don't really want to waste so much time. There are models that we use in formulating research questions. Every systematic review question that you have in this world has a kind of model that was used in postulating or formulating it, okay? And so there is one we call the PICO framework. Like I said, I'm not really going to buttress so much on that, but quite very important for you to understand that adolescents, maybe 10 to 19 years, that's a population intervention, there is dimension there, comparison. Maybe there might be outcome, of course, there could be, but essentially, if we use our marriage example, someone that's trying to get married that wants to conduct a study, I might say, what is the risk factors of maybe walking down the aisle with a Gen Z baddie? That kind of question, right? To answer that question, I need to collect, primary studies that has been conducted from, people who has attempted that, then look at some kind of outcome. Now, in that case, my population here is going to be some Gen Z baddie. Then intervention is marriage. Then comparison is maybe Gen Z baddie versus maybe probably what do we call Gen X or the older adults or whatever they are. But maybe even if it's your question is not compatible with some of these variables, then there are other models you can use in formulating your question. All right. Then what is this outcome is maybe risk factors. What could be risk factors? Maybe getting beaten, blown off, blown in the eyes, probably some kind of stuff and all of that. But the reason why I'm saying this is because a lot of us scroll on social media, and basically what I'm explaining right now is what you see all the day on social media. So I felt like it's going to be very important for me to relate an example with you with that, because so that you can have that kind of retention, when you're doing a systematic review. It's not really different from, when you're doing a systematic review. I feel like academic learning methods has to be, kind of played with, because there is nothing stopping you from getting your next publication next month. The point is just that so many people are just so lazy, and they don't like getting things done, and there are so much excuses, and all of that. But if you kind of see this thing as from the lens of, okay, this is what this guy is talking about, and so which model is going to suit my question? Of course, what's stopping you? Nothing definitely is going to stop you, but you just have to be very ruthless. Okay. So we have PEO for qualitative reviews, and of course, not all systematic reviews are quantitative, right? So what we are trying to say is that you might ask me what model is going to be suitable for my work. Definitely, I'm going to answer that. But it's just for you. The idea here is just for you to get that. Okay, there are also other models for your systematic review. All right. So whichever what you're working on, you can always have a go-to model that's going to be suitable for your formulating your research questions, because that's one of the fantastic characteristics that that anybody must decide to have. So I don't want to really be I don't like things that are so serious. I just like things that are very smooth, and because all these things are easy. It's all easy. It's just understanding how it is being done. All right. So the only thing there is that in your question, in your manuscript, I'll project some manuscript here. All you need to do is to kind of look at a model that is going to be suitable for you and then put it. So that same question that I raised here about social media and depression, you can see that I fitted it into this model, PEO, right? I've got adolescent exposure outcome. So that is just what it is. It is what it is. So now let me tell you something. Before you start a systematic review, you have to, before you start a systematic review, you have to register it on Prospero, right? So what does this mean with our marital example? Now, pay attention. Before, okay, all right. So before you start a systematic review, you have to do what? You have to register it. So it's just the same way as your proposal in your school. You're asked to write a proposal. You register your proposal. You go and defend your proposal. Your supervisor approves and all of that. So before you get married, you have to still register. Can maybe kind of go to the I feel like this protocol here, how it relates there is a proposal is you have to go and check, do a proposal, right? You meet her in a restaurant, or you meet her in the exam hall, you kneel down, you lie down and throw out the ring, right? And then maybe she agrees or she walks out of you, okay? And there are definitely some things that can make your proposal, your protocol not to be successful. Probably there is unclear objectives. Maybe probably the model using for formulating your question is poor. Eligibility criteria, it's not giving, it's not matching. There is weak search strategy that doesn't really propose what you're going to do, because you need to tell her how you want to search for the food, how you're going to get the baby's milk and all of that. Then probably a couple of outcomes are imperative. And then I'm going to show you the repository where you register all of this, okay? So there's something we call the International Prospective Registry for Systematic Reviews and Meta-analysis. More evidence are quite registered there. So immediately you register your article, you tell us all of this. You tell us what you intend to do. Probably if we see it and it makes some sense, we approve it. If it doesn't get approved. So just understand that as much as a systematic review is DEX-based, it definitely has to be registered. So you build a search strategy. There's also some questions you might want to ask me. What we call Boolean operators. I'm not really going to go so deep in this. I have an advanced search strategy session. Of course, definitely we're going to talk about that. And these are quite important for you. And also keywords are important, because they help in building your search strategy, kind of mesh terms and all of that. There's something we call truncations, wildcards. These are kind of what we call search strengths. We use it in expanding the pool ability for our systematic review to kind of get more evidence, all right? So databases to search, there are a lot of databases. You search on PubMed, search on Web of Science, Scopus, PsycInfo, Embase via Ovid, Embase against Shinal, Medline again, Medline via Ovid. And yeah, these are repositories. There are a lot of them. We have Central, Cockroach Central, we have Ajo, African Journal Online, we have Copernicus, we have a lot of them. There are so many databases. So these are where we go to search for this thing now based on my marriage example, this is what maybe deeper life, this is maybe deeper life, this is maybe University of Gambia, this is maybe another church, this is another mosque. These are like kind of places where you go to search for the rib of your rib. All right, so that's just kind of what I'm talking about. And I'm just kidding, because we try to complicate all of this, but I feel like it's quite very simple. And one of the things that even makes a systematic review outstanding is that once you're able to follow the guideline, which we're going to talk about, the reviewer, whoever is reviewing your paper, will score it and approve it. But because you followed a kind of an outline guideline. So just think about databases as this is maybe Deeper Life Bible Church. This is another, maybe a mosque. This is another church. This is another university. So this is where you go to search for whoever you want to say, maybe a guy or whatever. You feel like this is where they hang out and all of that. So that is something that happens to articles. This is where we go to search for. Maybe if we're working on articles that deals with medical, maybe medical information and all of that, we go here, we prioritize PsycInfo. And then if you're really interested in social sciences, maybe you're somebody here and you're in arts, and you're thinking about repositories that are going to be helpful, you will not go here. You will not go here. If you're looking for a body, you don't go to the church. Maybe they are in church, but you don't really go there. You go here. You go to Scopus, you go to Web of Sciences, because these are open repositories where definitely going to get a lot of articles. You don't go to Google to find an article, Google Scholar. Now, a lot of people have bashed Google Scholar, but I feel like Google Scholar is being maltreated by reviewers, because essentially the Google Scholar is just like the road, the street. You get everybody's there, everybody's on the road, right? But now when you're looking for somebody that is a doctor, you have to go to PubMed, because this is where they are. You go to Medline, you use what we call mesh terms, medical subject headings, to expand your search, your tactics, so you can be able to get the girls, the right people, right? But if you're checking them on the road, which is where all the articles, both the ones in Google, Scopus, everybody's, your search is going to be so hard because you're seeing a lot of people. You're seeing both masquerades, you're seeing people baddies, you're seeing everybody there, right? So it's going to be very difficult for you. So, but you need to, if you're working on mental related, papers, maybe it's anxiety, you're trying to do a network meta-analysis on anxiety levels, you might want to prioritize psycho because it looks at psychological specific papers, okay, like social media and depression. So it's going to be a priority database. That is what it's all about. So I just want you to understand that if you're working in Africa, if you're doing an African study, right, maybe something in Nigeria, the prevalence of diabetes type 2, you have to put some journals like AJO, all of that, because there are a lot of African journals that are indexed in AJO. So this is a very, 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 very important thing for anybody who is actually listening. So I hope that makes a lot of sense. Just think about, even if you didn't understand it, you can say, okay, this guy said, if I want to search for somebody, I have to know where to look for the person. I don't just have to start checking on Google Scholar because I'm going to see a lot of people there. So I need to go and look for her here. And there are chances I'm going to find her. So inclusion and exclusion criteria, the same, you try and outline some of the criteria for you to choose papers in your systematic review. All right. So what are going to be the qualities that you're looking for based on population, what age? Okay, you want a girl that is aged from maybe 19 to probably maybe 24 or maybe 24 or there, right? That's cool. Then you're looking for observational study designs. You're looking for people who are talking about depression. You're looking for a girl that speaks English. You don't want somebody you don't want somebody that is born beyond maybe 2000. Oh, what's that going to be? That's going to be like 2002 and beyond. I feel like that's quite old and that's out, not your spec. That's fine. It's fine. So what are exclusion criteria? Now, let me tell you something. Let me tell you something. Exclusion criteria is not just the opposite of this. Maybe you come in and say adults, maybe greater than this or mixed age with. Exclusion criteria is what among those girls who are aged 20,
Okay.
19 to 24, who you're interested in, that you
Oh,
want
okay.
you want to include, right? I don't know who is gonna.
Okay, wait till you show light in it. Wait till you show phone light in.
Okay, all right. So I'm sure we can hear me now. I just try and meet. So you can drop your feedbacks in the chat. You can drop your feedbacks in the chat, please. Now, so like I was explaining, now inclusion criteria are those characteristics that you're interested in, all right? So this is what you want, the characteristics you want your studies to have that you want to select, okay? I don't want studies that contains adults with diabetes or whatever, whatever. But it needs to be clearly stated because if it's not clearly stated, then the journal reviewers is going to attack it, okay? So so that's the same thing here. I don't want people that are aged from I want someone from 19 to maybe 24. I think that's fine. And then maybe you have some kind of observational accord, blah blah blah, and all of that. Okay, she has to be English or maybe French, or maybe you want to include everybody, whether she's English or French. You guys will sort it out. Okay, I'm just giving an example right now. And then probably you've got some kind of age and all that. So these are actually how to state it. All of this has to be clearly stated in your eligibility criteria. Now, the next part is what we call the study selection process. So what's study selection process? So this is where you kind of make some study screening, right? So you try to maybe kind of filter out. Okay, after you've checked your title, okay, so how many people did not meet it? You fling them away. How many people, when you checked abstract, why did you remove studies? You stated full text, when you are not checking them in depth, asking them serious questions when you were on dates, what did you find out? So when you picked up those papers, extracted them into an Excel sheet, and started going through it, what did you find out inside of those papers? Of course, that's what you're going to do in your full text screening, right? So you got to document the reasons then before your final inclusion. So we have what we call the PRISMA flow diagram. I'm just going to shine that quickly. And that stands for preferred reporting items for systematic reviews and meta-analysis. And yeah, it contains some kind of domain screening, eligibility, identification, and included studies, right? So essentially, what this means, what this contains here is it tries to talk about, what you're screening, what is the criteria, you need to, this is what documents, helps you to document how you include and exclude papers. Now, there's also what we call the data extraction. Like I said, we've got a full explanation there where we're going to trash all these things out. So data extraction now is now what you now extract. The people that now qualified for your wedding. Okay, this is where she lives. Now, already in terms of my marital example, it means that it has to be one. Okay, because some part of the world they believe in you have to marry only one person. So if you're marrying two people, is a taboo. But there's something somebody used to say that an average person in northern Nigeria is having peace of mind with five wives, and somebody in Lagos or somebody in southern Nigeria with one girlfriend is already facing chaos. But that seems funny. But regardless, in this case here, we now want to say, okay, let's say we are looking at malaria studies on maybe psychosocial, like we're looking at social media depression. So we get the first study. What is the title of the study? What is the country? What is the sample size? How many people were included in that study? What's the study design? What's the exposure? How was social media assessed? What's the outcomes? Was it depression too? The anxiety too. We have anxiety too. We have a DPP too. We have a lot of psychological, measurement tools that we use. All right. So even if you're in statistics, you have a statistical background and all of that, you still need to pull out all of these insights, particularly if it's going to lead to something like meta-analysis. I'm going to give a very perfect example here with our marital example. All right. So for the effect sizes, you got to pull them out. You're going to tell us the odds ratio, risk ratio, correlation coefficient, or mean difference. You're going to pull out the key findings also, because all these things that you're extracting is relevant in your synthesis. Because if you don't extract this information, how are you not going to do your narrative synthesis? How are you not going to do your meta-analysis? Because remember, the idea is we're trying to answer the question, what is the prevalence of fair women in Nigeria or in Ghana? So we are getting all these studies. So in our effect size here, we might be getting something like prevalence estimates. Maybe this one estimated effect size, or maybe prevalence as maybe 24.5, and the odds ratio is blah 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 and all of that. So these are statistical terminologies that you must extract from each of those studies, okay? So that yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So I said another thing is risk of bias. Now, remember in my question, in my example, when I talked about the lady, right? I said, okay, we want to get married right now. We are getting married. So we are checking for studies. And now we found the studies, the ladies. We've now included them. There are two girls that met our criteria, or two guys that met our criteria for the beautiful wedding. Now, we're going to do what we call risk of bias assessment. Now, in systematic review, that's what we call where we evaluate the methodological quality of those papers, of each of the included studies. So it tells us how confident are we now going to be when this person is in the kitchen cooking for us, when she's now in the kitchen cooking, because we're trying to get the prevalence of good character among fair girls in Ghana. So when she's in the kitchen cooking, asking, is it amala or ewedu and all of that, how is she going to behave? Is she going to be someone that's getting angry quickly? Is she going to be someone that's not going to answer what we're saying, or we're saying another thing, she's saying another thing? Ha, wahala. So that's in systematic review. Now we look at those papers. Now we pick first paper that I talked about. Maybe the first paper is a randomized control trial, an RCT. Now, if all the papers that you included are RCTs, maybe that's the type of design that you included, then it means that there is a particular type of risk of bias assessment tool that you use. So it means that, let me explain it now. The same woman that you picked from America and the same woman that you picked from Kenya, you're not going to use that's, let's say, so, some people say, oh, let me go to the village and go and search, do my search. If that's Agile database. The same woman that you picked from Kenya and the same woman that you picked from America is not the same. Maybe let's say Ohio in America, right? Or Portland, whichever place. They're not the same. You're not going to use the same tool, risk of bias tool, to assess them because both of them are different. They have different design. The woman in Ohio, she's more like kind of experimental. She has her own beliefs and all of that. The one in Kenya, in a village in rural Kenya, has her own characteristics. Now, in our study now, what we are looking at this now is that there might be a study that is called a cross-sectional study. And there's another study that is called a randomized control trial. Now, if these studies are what you included in your risk in your study for your this thing, you're not going to use the same risk or bias to judge them because the domains of the question, the one, when I say domain now, it's not look as if I'm speaking big English. I don't want to speak big English here. That's why I'm using what we can relate to. Now, the questions that are asked based on this study, let's say, for example, now, there's something we call randomization. Now, what it says now is that a primary researcher, like currently now, we are working on a research in a randomized control trial. We want to understand the effectiveness of surveillance methods, right? So that's traditional surveillance method for neglected tropical diseases and also maybe a community-wide engaged approach. Now, look at what I'm trying to say now. This thing now is big English. Or you say, oh, this guy is saying neglected tropical disease. What's wrong with him now? He has carried big English. Now, I don't want to say that now. What I'm trying to say now is that when we want to conduct that study now, there are some guidelines that we will follow. The same thing, the process I'm going to follow, I have to go and get people. I'll make sure that these people don't know the question I want to ask them. Then I will have a control group. I'll make sure they don't have the question, they don't know the question I want to ask them. Then I'll now kind of stylishly ask them the question, blind them and ask them the question, and then collect my information. Now, you see how I'm doing my own, particular as a PhD researcher. An undergraduate student that is in the hostel sharing questionnaires from maybe she went out with the boyfriend and said, baby, let's go and share questionnaires. And they're not sharing questionnaires. Hey, give Jeff this, give Peter this. They're all sharing it. You see that the same way that I'm doing my own and that one is not the same. So it means that when our studies now gets chosen for a systematic review, the way they will judge my paper and the way they will judge her own is not the same because her own is a cross-sectional study. So there are a lot of tools for cross-sectional studies, quality assessment, when they are your included studies. Can have the CAPS checklist, for observational studies, we have the axis checklist, lots of them, okay? For cohort studies, some people might try to do cohorts by asking questions, and that is what I think will even form our example here because when you're the type of risk of bias assessment that we use in dating, for marriage is usually what we call the Newcastle Ottawa scale. When you start asking questions about her past cohort, start going back. What did you do in year one? What did you do in year four? What did you do in pre-nursery? What did you do when you were in secondary school? Those are what we call what? Questions that we use in judging the quality of that study. So there are domains, there are questions that this tool comes with. So it means that in our systematic review, when studies are included, we need to use some kind of domains to address those questions. All right. So it means that you might start to say, okay, the girl from Kenya we're going to ask her questions using the Newcastle Tower scale. Please, where were you as of 2023 June, Thursday, random 2:45 p.m. in the afternoon? Where were you? Okay, what happened the next day and all of that? So that's what we call Newcastle Tower scale. There are also other tools that are not here. If you're in physiology, there's what we call the Pedro scale. Okay, I think that was one of the first risk of bias tool I used. One of the systematic reviews I wrote sometime in 2022. I used the Pedro scale before I used the Cochrane risk of bias tool. We published a systematic review on malaria effectiveness of malaria interventions, and yeah, so that we included a lot of randomized trials. So the Cochrane risk of bias tool was it. But now I think we have the updated risk of bias tool by Cochrane. But the point here, let's forget all this big English. The point here is that once all the 20 papers, 100 papers, 100 girls that meet your criteria for marriage, there needs to be a specific tool that you use to ask them questions. Okay, you use to judge them, kind of check if their quality, kind of rate them. Okay, this one is 8/10, this one is 9/10. I think that's where the whole idea of she's a 10/10 came from. or she's a 9/10. That's where it came from. So you know now. You now know that that is where the whole idea about that emanated from. Okay, so that's what we call risk of bias. We rate studies and all of that. We have a lot of videos where we've done, I think if you go to our channel and check out, you see where we rated the cross-sectional study using what we call the axis checklist. That axis checklist has 20 domains. So the risk of bias 2 by Cochrane has 6 domains. This one has 9 domains. This one has 10 domains. So you see that they are different depending on the design of the studies that you included. And now this is where I'm going to end this now before I get your questions, because I'm so sorry to have taken so much time, in kind of grinding through these slides. I wanted to do some kind of search strategy show, but that's not really part of what I want to do. I just want to get questions as soon as possible, as much questions as possible. I get to answer it before, the next 30 minutes or so. And yeah, so ask me any question that you have after I'm done explaining the data synthesis. Now, this is the last part of your review part, right? Where we now try to this is where we do what? Where we now join all the information we have from several parts of our reviews. Now, let me ask you a question now. Now, assuming you have a systematic review now, let's use our marital example now, where we are doing prevalence of maybe, in short, let me just use it. Prevalence of maybe fair women in Gambia, for example. Now, you look at that question now, prevalence. Now, there's something we call epidemiological indices. I think I'm going to throw that away. What do I mean by that? There's something we call statistical indices, right? Now, the word prevalence is a numerical attribute. So because if I want to do prevalence, so the reviewers are expecting to see numbers where I'll be saying, okay, I saw so and so in rural Gambia, in urban Gambia, I saw 30. Therefore, the prevalence out of all the 10 studies selected from Gambia is 54.5. So it can be summarized from this systematic review using a meta-analysis that the pooled estimate shows that statistical pooling of effect shows that 20 girls are fair, 54.5 of the population of women in Gambia are fair in complexion. Full stop. So that means policymakers who are distributing jig or distributing cocoa butter should focus more on supplying cocoa butter for darkening the skin in rural Gambia over urban Gambia. All right. So it means that if, let's say, for example, now we did a study on maybe diabetes now, for example, now maybe correlates of diabetes, right? And then we have findings. What is the whole idea? Some of you here think we are doing systematic review to show you publications. No. The idea why we are doing systematic reviews is to have insights, papers that can make real-time findings, papers that can be used to make conclusion. I'm currently drinking a Zobo here. A Zobo, I think it's already about to finish. And now this Zobo, right? Somebody might have done a systematic review on maybe the contamination among Zobo in Abuja or whatever. Now, what it means is that when that work is published, policymakers will now say, okay, Zobo distributors in Abuja is very contaminated. They will need what? Public health education. It is because of the findings that I get from my systematic review. But now let's keep that aside and return back to our normal explanation. Two things can happen in your systematic review at this beginner stage. It's either you do a narrative synthesis or you do what we call a meta-analysis. Now, there's also what we call thematic synthesis, but I don't really want to confuse you now, right now. I just want to make it very simple. A narrative synthesis is now addressing questions that are from heterogeneous papers. When we say homogeneous, you already know I know where your mind went to. It means similar, right? So it will work for meta-analysis, because if you're doing something like prevalence or something, it means that homogeneous. Homo means that what? They are similar. That means you're going to have people that are, this is that 1%, that one is, these are numbers, so they're all similar, right? So essentially, it can be more like you have effect estimates and they are all similar, all right? So that way you can make summary from there. But how about we are doing something like social media, mental? I hope people have not forgotten our topic from my whole explanation. So we know we are looking at social media use, right? If we have use, we are pulling use statistically, right? We are trying to get use from each town in Nigeria. Let's say this study was limited in Nigeria. Then we can use a meta-analysis to summarize the use. But now, if it's that based on the use, we are getting something like maybe from Abuja, one study from Abuja is saying social media use is high. The word high. That word high, we can't say it's 90%. We can't say it's 20%. We can't say it's 15%. So it's a qualitative variable, high. You just say something is high. There is no statistical estimate. Okay, fine. We pick another word, work from Akwa Ibom. And that one says social media use is highly complicated and blah, 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 and all of that. That's another word. It's different from high. This one is complicated. We now pick another study from China. Sorry. I don't know when I got to China. We pick another study from Maiduguri, and it uses the use is 25%. Now, what are we seeing now? We've seen a study that uses high, another one uses complicated, another one uses 25%. This is no longer homo. It is now what? Hetero. That's what. When they say, oh, what is your gender? So what's your whatever? I don't know how they say it. These days when you're feeling fun now, you go see you see so much. You see what's your gender. You see 54 genders and all of that. So I say, okay, heterogeneous. So it means that when the outcomes here, this outcome here is saying 51%, the other outcome there is saying high, the other one is saying another thing, this one is saying quality, and and all of them actually met your study. It means that what? You use what we call a narrative synthesis, where you textualize them. You will not form what we call teams. We'll definitely talk about that, but that's only idea for what we want to say. But I'm sure this is very clear. The only thing you need to know is that when you're preparing for your data synthesis is the same thing as your data analysis in your systematic review. Sorry, in your primary study. Some of us here you might be doing a primary research. Maybe probably you're trying to kind of gamble one or two, evidence and all of that. But essentially, in that case, when you're doing your primary study, you're trying to kind of summarize. Your supervisor is asking you, I've not seen table two. Table two, you now say, okay, based on your questionnaire, this is what you have from your table two. Those ones are numeric, right? That's based on your primary study. But that analysis you're doing there is the same analysis. This is the data analysis of systematic review. The data analysis of systematic review is narrative synthesis or thematic synthesis or meta-analysis. I'm going to have a workshop by maybe next month or upper month on meta-analysis and network meta-analysis. I think we've had a lot of sessions on meta-analysis, but we are yet to have one on network meta-analysis. So I'm definitely going to have that session where will show us how we can, do some, indirect comparisons, okay, using maybe R programming and all of that. I'm sure some of us here might be familiar with the two, but the point that I'm trying to buttress here now is that we can go numerically or we can go what? We can go by textualizing. Is it possible to combine narrative and meta-analysis? The answer is yes, you can. I'm just going to kind of show you a paper, one paper, and before you ask me your questions, then I'm going to also talk about some. I'm just going to show you. Yes, I'm sure. You can also drop some comments on the chat. Let me just show you something from this 2024 paper. I just want to show you something. So this is a paper that we published in Scientific. This is Journal of Alzheimer's and Disease Reports or blah, 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 all of that. And I just want to kind of show you that there's possibilities for you to also pull prevalence, do some meta-analysis, and so this is the results session. And okay, so you have your characters of included studies. So this is what we call the PRISMA, where we show evidence of how studies are being selected. We've got databases, You've got some kind of reasons for exclusion, all of that, blah, blah, blah. Here included some 6 papers. And you can see we have a meta-analysis here. So this is, okay, this is the meta-analysis and okay. So you see here in the meta-analysis, this is what we call statistical summary, and the pooled prevalence here is at 95% confidence interval. We are having an odds ratio of 1.7, and the confidence interval is lying between 0.99 to 1.63. So that's, if you look at this plot here, you see 0.99 to 1.63. I'm not here to explain, I'm not here to explain the first plot, so I won't create more confusion, but we're just trying to kind of keep it simple for you to understand, and you kind of discuss your result, all right? Just trying to keep it some kind of simple for you to, get some stuff, sorted out. So, yes, I'm just going to be open to questions right now. I understand my classes are quite very self-explanatory, but still, I want you to ask questions. If there are questions, you've got to ask. This is a question and answer session. But I've taken my time to kind of make some explanation, and I want you to ask some questions. Yes. Okay. Okay, ask questions.
Yes. Hi, David. Thank you very much for the detailed explanation. Some of us are, I would say, we are still beginners. One thing I wanted to ask more is, um, what is the motivation for us as a beginner? This is just from your experience. What was your motivation that we can learn from you so that at the end of the day we can start uh, writing our first systematic review? What was that motivation that actually pushed you? I know we have a lot, but we want to learn from that, because I think from experience, systematic review definitely is something that is really technical enough. You can have the research experience, but when it comes to systematic review, definitely it's challenging to a certain extent. So my name is Hassan Benya. I'm from Sierra Leone. For others who don't know me, thank you.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much, Mr. Hassan Benya, from Sierra Leone. Thank you very much for that contribution. I want to say something. I feel like it's deep. I feel like to answer this question from this particular angle now. In terms of motivation, uh, one of the things that anybody who is listening to this, watching this particular, who is actually attending this session needs to understand is that you just need to set targets for yourself, particularly with respect to research. That is one of the things that happens in research. And one of the things that I believe that has really motivated me with respect to systematic reviews and all of that is that I I like getting things done, right? And one of the strategies that we are putting in to make this, because I did mention that we wouldn't just explain how systematic reviews are being done right now or answer questions, but we are rolling out an internship, which is what I'm going to project right now. I'm going to project that on my screen now. And if you're getting started with a systematic, if you have intentions of doing really significantly very well with respect to systematic review, you need to work on several systematic reviews. That is one of the cheats. In January, I will put it to you, newsflash. In January, I submitted 26 papers in January. So if I have 6 acceptance in April, in March, it's because I submitted 26 papers. I don't mean 25. I'm not saying 24. 26 papers. 26 papers in January. And I know, yes, probably somebody might say, okay, I'm quite conversant with that and all of that, the process. But I believe if you are given opportunity to participate in collaborative internship opportunity, just like we're rolling out right now at Sentisini, uh, you need to you need to take it very, very serious and kind of do more. Because if you look at it from if you look at it from the long term, if you're somebody that is in social sciences or you're somebody that is in arts, medicine, and all of that, one of the ways that you can become very renowned in that particular area is the amount of insights that you're able to contribute. And that is why we don't just want to leave us out by probably running us with session. We want us to be engaged in our internship programs. And I'm just going to be projecting something right now on my screen. Just give me some seconds. So that is a very, very massive strategy for anybody that is ready to get started with particularly working on a systematic review. You need to be ready to complete tasks and just set deadlines for yourself. So I don't know if I answered that question because I try to make sure look at all the domains of what you asked me. You asked me about motivation. What keeps me motivated is that, I want to make sure I contribute significantly to literature. And I'm sure it's something a lot of people can do. I believe strongly that as a community, we can have the capacity to, do a lot. We can do a whole lot together. And that is one of the things that I really want us to, have in mind. And also, I want to break a good news to us. While we are rolling out uh, our internship applications, it is one that is also going to come with certification, and it's free. Application definitely is free for it, but there are some requirements that we would need for us to get into our internship. So our internship is designed in such a way that we have a research question that we are going to be working on. I'm just going to project that in a second while I answer other questions. Just give me a minute. Just a second. Oh, sorry. Okay. Okay, just a minute, please. Okay, I'm just a second. I think there's a question also on the chat, but I'm trying to kind of project this. Okay, I'm trying to. Okay, yes, I have it here now. Okay, all right. So this is it. Yeah. Okay. Okay. I'm sure we can see my screen now. So so we are rolling out a 1 month internship for everybody, right? Anybody, the deadline is going to be announced soon. We have, if you check out our website, you're going to see that we have some clusters. So you can enroll into any of our clusters. We have our chronic disease epidemiology cluster. We have environmental health and climate research cluster. We have infectious disease and global health research cluster. We have our machine learning and computational research cluster. We have our pharmaceutical and biomedical research cluster. And we have our traditional and consumer health research cluster. Now, this is going to be a free 1 month systematic review internship that is going to start on the 31st of April to the 30th of May. Definitely, we're going to get certifications for this, for engaging in this systematic review session. It's going to be a collaborative, session. You can apply at www.sensei.com/internships. You can choose any of the clusters. And these are the research questions that we are going to be working on because we are looking at enrolling you guys with this. Once you get to participate in any of these systematic reviews, of course, you're going to be given opportunity to practice, and collaborate, particularly in these systematic reviews. We have for our environmental health and climate research cluster, you have a systematic review of youth-led community-driven environmental, initiatives. Depending on the number of people in the cluster, we're going to break it down into further questions, to ensure that we collaborate. So we're going to also get hands-on experience with some of our bright team members as well, who are going to, have us collaborate during that time. So the idea of this internship is that even if you're a newbie, you don't understand how to write a systematic review, you have to apply for this internship. And you go to the website, you apply. All you need, you put in your details and all of that, and you get to apply. And also, you can actually choose any of the clusters, as it relates, and then enroll. We're also going to be working around the infectious disease and global research cluster. So we've designed these research questions to give us, that flexibility. One person can only be in one cluster at a time. One person cannot be in two clusters at the same time. It's only one person in one cluster. And the time duration for this internship is a month. So it means that at the 30th of May, it means that you should have completed the learning outcomes, and we should also be submitting. Okay, so it's going to be collaborative during that period. Okay, so task is going to be assigned. You'll be taught how you're going to be shown how to do what some of it that are necessary, and then we get to be featured in the publication once it's rolled out. So at Sensini, we don't just want to be delimited to just learning. We don't just want to kind of practice. We want to practice. So that is it. Our research internship is open to everybody. Okay, and once we get the required number, we are going to close it down immediately. Then maybe probably you wait for the next cohort. Okay, so that is the idea. So these are the clusters that we have now. So if you look at these questions and there's any part of this cluster that you find very interesting and get ready to collaborate in, then this is kind of a first-hand. This flyer is not out. I'm just sharing it here as the first hand. So like I promised, it's definitely going to be share there. And another thing I want to say with respect to that motivation or whatever is that I feel like that question is kind of broader, but then I feel like it's based on, the people you surround yourself with, right? So if you're walking around with a team, you guys are collaborating, getting things published, of course, you will always have that, zeal. But now let me tell you the requirement now. Now, one of the requirements for you to be part of this now is, like I said, it's free, is that you will need to get the evidence-based systematic review course. Okay, so it's almost free. So because you need to get information, right, on how it's being done. So all you need to do is to just go to this particular link and get the course, get the full course. You can, if you are having difficulties in getting this course, you can just send the message I'm going to project the number that you're going to send a message to. And of course, the course is going to be sent to your link, to your email. But then just go to this website. You can see it here, seller.com/714IO7. So this is the requirement for you to have access to our internship. So we need to make sure that you understand the several domains so that while we are navigating the collaboration, you are also you also kind of getting information on all of that. So you have from now till first week of next month to make sure you get this course, so that you can get access to the internship where we're going to have some kind of practical, direction, and then we get published because it's easy, it's possible. Okay, what you need here now is a group of people who are like-minded. You get added to the Zoom, to the class on Google, and then you guys collaborate, do the search, you watch, you see, you get access to other of our resources, that can actually help you speed up the process and all of that. It's just follow who know the road. That's what they usually say. You need to follow the people that understands it, and that is one of the strategies, to get these things done. Like I said, the only way you can become an expert in systematic review, I'm still learning as well, is by uh is by okay, yeah, for the clusters, those for agriculture can join the traditional, traditional medicine and consumer, health research cluster. You can join that. Just go to our website, sensei.com, and submit, why you want to join, and some other, you will definitely see all the information that you need to join this internship. We want to practice, we want to do something different. Okay. Some other people, what they are doing is they just kind of teach you and leave you there, but we don't want to be that. Okay. The link for the course has been dropped on our, it has been dropped. But if you have encounter any kind of difficulty in getting this course, I'm also going to drop the number that you're going to send a message to, and automatically uh, you will be guided on where to make payment, and then the link is going to be sent to your email. I'm going to drop our support line right away for this evidence-based focus. You're definitely going to see it on the course catalog there, because you need these things. You really need these things. And yeah. So I don't know, is there any other question I would want to address that? Is there another question? Regardless, you can ask me more questions as well. I am ready to answer. You can just unmute yourself and ask the question with respect to systematic reviews. So I've sent the number of our support. If you're having I believe it's definitely going to go through. You can just click here, get it. That's the requirement. That's one of the primary requirements, because we're definitely going to take this off of this particular pro bono for you. And like I said, the internship is going to come with a certification in any of these areas. You're also going to be added on the featured on publication with all the practical insights, and also access to other resources that you will need for this particular session. So I don't know, is there another question? Somebody asked the question. Please, I should give basic tips for a good narrative synthesis. Okay, now for you to conduct a narrative synthesis, now it depends on what you're talking about. If you're talking about a narrative synthesis with respect to the data analysis part of a systematic review, now what are the tips? What are the tips? What are actually the tips? Now, one of the things that makes I'm going to show you an example now with another paper now. I'm just going to show you the paper now. Okay, let me just check out this paper. And this is also, so you can just look up any systematic review of your choice. You can check out any one of your choice that was written with a narrative synthesis, right? So one of the advantages of a narrative synthesis is that uh, you must make sure one of the potential advantage tips of having a good narrative synthesis is that it must address each theme must contain at least two or more of your included studies. Now let me explain what I mean now. Now let me open this paper. Okay, so this is an open access paper that definitely everybody can have access to this paper. So this is a systematic review. And now, if you go to the synthesis of this particular review here, you find out that it was written using what? It was narratively written. And now let's look at one of the good tips that you need to take home from there. First of all, you need to have the what? Based on this particular first highlight, right? If you look at this first highlight here, this first thing, it is addressed in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, this is a study that has how many teams? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Right? If I'm correct. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It has 7 teams. So you see that this particular systematic review was exhaustively discussed. Right? It was exhaustively discussed, meaning that it has a lot of insights unraveling or being unraveled inside of it. So one of the things that makes it very, 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 very exceptional is that what? There are a lot of insights that are discussed for each particular team. When it comes to cultural, it addresses at least 5 teams. Now, one of the things that might make your study show some limitations is that if you now have maybe you hear you're comparing traditional versus modern approaches as one of the outcomes of interest, because basically all of these things here, I'm addressing them as outcomes. Maybe you might be having like kind of 2 evidence, then that means it is weak to make substantial generalization, because basically the idea of a systematic review is that we have studies that we want to use in making generalization for what? For all, maybe like, for you to say that what's the risk factors of malaria in Africa, you're trying to say that, okay, for malaria in Africa, you have for malaria in Africa, maybe risk factors. Maybe let's say one of the risk factors is birth defect or whatever. Then it means that you're trying to say that based on birth defect, how many studies were able to extrapolate evidence from there? Probably you have 4 out of your 9 studies, or you have 2 out of your 9 studies. That means there is the possibility of evidence for you to make summarization with 2 studies shows it's not really, really substantial compared to somebody that is summarizing with maybe 5 evidence for one team or 10 evidence for one team. That means it makes it very robust for that particular event. So one of the things that makes your studies very rich also is what? Number of included studies. Okay? So the more included studies you have, the more quality that your systematic review, gets to have. Okay? So yeah, that's the question. Is there any other question? Someone is asking, please, I didn't catch up with the difference between step 1 and step 2. Okay, so please, can you ask that question, Deborah, if you're still active, so that I can quickly address that. So also, guys, you can also check out our website here. Some people might be currently now we are currently in the era of artificial intelligence, and when you go to our resource tab here, you're going to see this material here, which is called the Systematic Review Prompt Book. Now, this is actually a book I highly recommend everyone here to have. Okay, you can go to centini.com/resources and get this particular book. So one of the essence ideation of this book is that it gives you some kind of access to all the required prompts that you need for you to automate your protocol. Okay, so as much as we are teaching you guys the traditional methods, it's also very important for you to know how to automate your write-up using kind of some relevant insights. So most people, one of the problem a lot of people have is that they just They are just there, right? You come to day one, after the same thing, maybe we call for another meeting, they still come back the same. One of the things that differentiates people that are doing from people that are not doing is people that take action. So if you're somebody that, okay, you're just occupying and you're not taking action, you just keep seeing other people announcing their what, maybe their successes and all of that. But you need distance. You need distance because for you to be able to attend this seminar here, it means that what? Number one, you have a clear-cut guideline. You've gotten the course to give you access to the understanding of how to get the systematic review. Because when you look at that course, you see me explaining a systematic review from start to finish using one example of a research question. I don't just explain systematic reviews by teaching a systematic review without an example. No, I use a real-time systematic review question to answer the question from start to finish, right? So right now we're talking about artificial intelligence. You get a prompt book, you take action and get the prompt book. So you can also learn how to navigate this and all of that. I told you guys that in January I didn't publish, sorry. I sent out about 26 papers, right, to get 6 acceptance in April. Now, how this thing works is that we don't want to publish in low-tier journals. We want to publish in high-impact journals. And for us to publish in high-impact journals, we must start submitting now. All right. I'm seeing some people have already started, doing the needful. And that shows that what you guys are really ready to take action. So what it means is that for you to publish in high impact journals, it means that you need to start now. You need to do what? Start now. Because once you start now, it has to go through rigorous peer review. I don't advise you submitting in predatory journals that don't have any meaning. You need to target the best. And submitting in BMC, let me tell you something. Publishing in BMC is free. Publishing in BMC is free. It's totally free. For the fact that you're from what? A low and middle income country. So you need to know how to ask questions. Okay, how do you apply for your waiver? It's free. You apply for a waiver and all of that. The process is entirely easy. The only thing is that what? We don't take action because it's only the people that take action that does what? That wins big. So you don't need to pass yourself through several stress. The only thing you need to do is to do what? Take action. Get the book, get this prompt book, get the evidence-based review, and join the what? Join the internship. It's starting on 28th of April next month. So you have enough time now to join. Start practicing. Before the internship commences, you get this evidence-based, so you run through. So when you come to collaborate with other people in your cluster, you kind of evoke more insights so that by now, next month, we want to be talking about acceptance. It's possible. It's possible. It's really, if it's not possible, I'll tell you people that I'm going to tell you some of the reasons why it might not be done, but it is 100% possible. Once you get on that, I'm telling you that once you have this prompt book and you have the course of the guidelines of what and what to do, there is nothing that is stopping you from doing what? From publishing an article, at least knowing how to do it on your own, because that's one of the best things to do. A lot of people outsource, that's fine. But the person that you might be outsourcing might not really have the time to treat it how you want it to treat. There's nothing worth more. This is your own. You're the one doing it for yourself. All right. So that is just how it works. You get it, you apply it, and of course, by our next meeting, our next community meeting, we'll be talking about what? Acceptance. So that's what we want to be doing, celebrating acceptance. Okay, ask me a question on Madu Abichi Onyabo. Okay, I'm listening. Can you unmute yourself? Okay, somebody asked the questions. Thank you for the lecture. For the inclusion on how many journals are to be reviewed. Is there a limit? Of course, there is no limit. The minimum is 2 for a systematic review. Then the maximum number of papers now depends on the number of people in your team. So when you guys join the internship and you start collaborating, uh, of course, the minimum number of papers is going to be what? Is going to be two. But I don't advise you to submit two papers. Like it's going to be really crazy. But at least I'm just saying what the normal standard for systematic minimum is two. The maximum can be as much as possible. Okay, ask your question, Onyabo. I think we are gradually getting to the end. Ask your question. So I don't know, is there any other question? Any other question? These are question and answer series. I would be happy to answer.
Thank you, sir, for the lecture. I also want to ask, for the exclusion, are we supposed to write details on those journals that are excluded from the particular topic that we are reviewing systematically?
Are you supposed to write, that's the reasons for excluding?
Yes.
Of course, yes. So let me show you something now. Now look at this paper here. Let me just show you. I'm just going to, okay. I'm going to drag this down. Now you can see here, this is what we call the PRISMA flow diagram, right? So what the PRISMA flow diagram does is that it tells you why the reasons for inclusion and also the reasons for what? No, it doesn't tell you the reasons for inclusion, right? It tells you the reason for exclusion. It gives you avenue to address the reasons for exclusion. So I excluded 227 papers because they are not addressing prevalence of antibiotic resistance. They're not published in English. For qualitative design, 25. So I was doing a meta-analysis. I don't need the qualitative design. So that is how it works. If you come to the eligibility criteria, so this is where you still state, older adults with older adults and AD patients without AD and with other comorbidities. So if you're older and you have maybe some kind of comorbidities, you're going to be excluded. So this is what the exclusion criteria looks like in your PRISMA paper, okay? Some people do talk about registering on Prospero. Like this paper now was not registered on Prospero, but it's best practice to register on Prospero. Now, if you look at this paper here, you see that we registered it on what? On Prospero. Okay, it was registered, but I don't know why it wasn't stated. Of course, yes, definitely. I'm going to share the slides on the community. So, yeah, so getting set, the next big thing now is our internship program, is our internship, 1 month internship, giving you access to our certificates and also opportunity to collaborate with others on the systematic review and turn everything into practical insight. So is there any other question? Definitely the slides is going to be sent to the community. Any other question?
Yeah,
Like
hello.
I don't always do expect questions because I believe that it's quite very self-explanatory. Is there any question
Hello.
around systematic reviews you might want to answer? I
Yes.
see. Okay, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, my name is Ofosu Sims. I'm from Ghana. I
Okay, all
just
right.
mentioned that I think I was reading a couple of places to publish a systematic review. And I realized that I was reading about JBI systematic review, JBI, and I realized that it seems their formats. So I want to find out when you want to format from each of the where to publish this review. Are they similar? Because I realized that some of them were different from the other. I don't know if I'm putting the question right. Like especially the JBI systematic review. When you use their format is quite different from other reviews that I've seen.
Okay, all right. So now you asked about, are you talking with respect to a journal?
Yes, please.
Okay, now there are several specifications for journal submission. Now, before you submit an article, right? Before you submit an article, there's what we call journal guidelines. An article can be rejected because it doesn't meet the journal guideline, if that is what you're asking. So, a certain journal might decide to say, okay, this is the number of words you can have in your abstract. This is the number of words you can have in your background. This is how you're supposed to be. This, blah, 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 and all of that. Then this is how you're supposed to write put your index, your what do you call it? That's the studies, the references has to be, kind of in this format and, and all of that. So that's it. Then another journal, different journal could say, okay, this is how, so you see how these references are superscript. You see that this is how we submitted these two articles, but we follow different journal guidelines. So I just want like things that are practical. We need to once we are done with the internship, we need to be submitted so that let us be using our own article to teach. Do you understand? That is how it's supposed to be. We don't want to be making reference to other people's papers. Let us get to the stage of using our articles to do or to teach. So if you look at this paper now, you see that here now the referencing style is superscript, okay? Chicago format, whereas this one is block, Vancouver format. So different journal. This is Journal of Alzheimer's Disease Report and all of that. This is it, Journals of Alzheimer's Disease Report. This is kind of Journal of BMC Pediatrics. I seen it. So these are, honestly speaking, these things are easy. These things are easy. The only thing that stops us is taking action. Okay. So yes, I can actually see some people who are okay. All right. So the only thing that stops us is taking action. Just take action. Just get stuff done. And of course, yeah, you will definitely be there. So somebody's asking another question. I'm checking the chat right now. The question is, when is the internship starting? Okay, it starts 20. The flyer is there clearly. Okay, let me just project that again. The internship starts by 28th of April. It starts on the 28th of April down to 30th of May. It's going to be a 1-month systematic review and evidence-based collaborative lab internship. Couple of sessions on Zoom, and then with Google Classes. What's the cost? There is no cost for now. There's no cost. The only requirement now is for early birds to get the full course. You have to get this course, the evidence-based course, because that's going to be a pass key for you to get into the course. Okay. Yeah, you can see it has explains the overview of systematic reviews, differences between systematic reviews and all of that. And then we'll have the second part, how to structure a question, eligibility criteria, practical insights. We have literature search, database search techniques, how to manage your search results, AI automation for data extraction is also there. And then you're getting everything. So the basic skills you need is to get this course now. That's one of the basic skill you need because you need to practice. So while you're watching, okay, you are practicing. That is how it works. You need a laptop, then you start practicing, and that's it. There is no other cheat. The only cheat code is to, practice while you're learning. And I think that is that. So I don't know if there's any other question. I see that we really okay. Go ahead. Can go ahead.
Yeah, so you said if we call that number, we'll get guidance on this systematic based.
Yeah, you can send a
evidence-based
message on
systematic
WhatsApp if you're
review.
having difficulties if you're having difficulties purchasing it. But from this link, you can get it. Some people usually from this link here, from the link on the group, on the chat now, it's going to also be forwarded on the community. What? So you can send a message to the number on WhatsApp if you have any, but it should go through. Once you click this link, you're definitely going to get the course. Immediately you click the link, it throws you to the course, and then you get the course and you start. It's nothing. It's just it gives you all the insights that you need to address all the domains of a systematic review. So guys, of course, next workshop, we're going to be talking about meta-analysis. And yeah, we'll be bringing in some partners. Our free sessions will continue to run, but our internship start. Sorry, the network kicked me out. My network kicked me out. So I think that's okay. So I don't know, is there any other question anybody might want to ask? So we're going to be calling it a day. The link to the link to the course and the slides is going to be shared on the community, and hopefully we see you guys there. Thank you very much for your time. Yeah, so I mean, I want you guys to unmute yourself. Probably, yeah, if there's anything you want to say before we end.